Hello, one and all. It's my reaction video and cut kind of video of Arifureta Season 2, Episode 5. And I'm entering this episode with a, cautious amount of optimism because what comes next is described in light novel as some of the most visually amazing scenes in the entire series, but they also aren't all that critically important to the story, so I'm not really sure if the studio is actually going to put the effort into fully animating all of that. I mean, a lot of stuff that's going to happen in this next Labyrinth is fairly skippable. It's not all that important, even though I really would like to see it. Though that does raise another issue because, like I said, they're going to the Labyrinth, that much is obvious, but the Labyrinth doesn't really have enough content for 2 episodes, and yet it has too much content for 1 episode, so I'm not really sure how exactly they're going to split this up, where exactly they're going to make the cutoff, or if they're just going to cut out so much content that they can squeeze it all into 1 episode. I mean, that seems unlikely right now. Definitely seems unlikely. Though something I really do need to point out here is that we are now 5 episodes into this season, and we are still only on the first volume. We are still on volume 5. The first season, 13 episodes, they covered 4 volumes. They are doing such a better job of pacing this season, and I'm so happy about that. But anyway, though, last episode we met Remia, Miu's mother. Huzzah! And she has seemingly forced herself into the harem, which I've gotta admit was impressive. I mean, seriously, Yui alone, but Shea, Tio, Kaori, they are 3-4 of the most dangerous women on the planet, and Remia did not blink once. She fully took on all their hatred and anger, and did not falter in the slightest. She certainly deserves a place in Hajime's harem for that alone. But anyway, here we get to see, them sending Hajime off to war, or I guess as the light novel describes it, a woman sending her husband off to work. Oh, it's adorable. That is so adorable. I so love it. But alright, so let's get into this starting in 3, 2, 1. And it's definitely interesting they're going with still images here. I mean, it definitely seems cheap. But at the same time, like I said, what comes next is going to be very visually demanding, so I'm not surprised they're cutting corners wherever they can. Yeah, so the episode basically starts off with all the girls taking a big group shower, and in the light novel, they even invited Hajime to join them. Actually, they didn't so much invite him as she attempted to knock him unconscious with her hammer and drag him into the shower, so he ran away to the top of the ship so he could be alone and safe. While at the same time wondering, hey, does me refusing the advances of all these beautiful women make me a loser? I'm not sure about that. Oh, poor Hajime. Poor Hajime. Wait, Hajime has a harem of beautiful women who all want him. No, not poor Hajime. Hajime, I freaking want your life. Yeah, that's also something I should mention here. In the late novel described that Hajime spent the day trying to find the sunken ruins. He dove to the bottom of the ocean to look for it, but couldn't find anything. And the very interesting detail here is the fact that he says the bottom of the ocean is 100 kilometers deep. Now, I'm not all that great at science, but I'm fairly certain that is a very long distance, and I'm, relatively certain that's far deeper than any ocean in our world. So deep that the pressure alone would crush anything that got down that far into, literal dust. Episode 5, Memories from the Bottom of the Sea. Yeah, those memories, they are going to be something else. Yeah, seriously, they have only been in this world for 6 months, and Hajime already has, Yui, Shea, Tio, Kaori, Remia, and his teacher, probably. So that's an average of 1 girl per month. If he spends even 1 more month in this world, he will have a woman for every day of the week. Yeah, Yui always gets jealous whenever Hajime talks to Kaori about Japan, because while Yui knows that she's special to Hajime and no one will ever take her place, she's bothered by the fact that she doesn't know anything about Japan. She doesn't know anything about Hajime's world, and that's a link, a connection he has to Kaori that he doesn't have to her. And that's really the only thing she's afraid of when it comes to Kaori, just that connection they have as a result of a shared homeland. Okay, they're definitely cutting out quite a bit here. At this point in light novel, Hajime sat with Kaori on one side, pinching her cheek, Shea on the other side, him rubbing her ear, Yui in his lap, and Tio leaning behind him as she panted furiously while telling them stories about Japan as Kaori, stepped in and explained things as well, gave her own stories as well, and it was Just such an absolutely beautiful moment for all of them together. I loved it, and I kind of wish we'd seen that here, though, like I said, super non-important. It's just a nice little detail. Wow, that was so beautiful, even managed to move Hajime. Oh, I love it, I love it. Sadly, though, the creator of this labyrinth is probably just as big a sociopath as Milady, the one who had them go through the labyrinth without any magic, where things kept falling on their heads. Oh, that was a fun time for absolutely nobody. Oh, that's a bit of a bummer. In the light novel, Hajime actually painted sharks with smiling faces on all the torpedoes he made. Oh, that's such a little detail I so love, and it so makes Hajime who he is. He is a designer, he is an artist, he is a perfectionist. Okay, that's a whole lot they cut out there. Basically, in light novel, Hajime did a full lap around the outside the labyrinth first, and then realized, wait a minute, I'm going in circles. There's a fisheye over there because I killed that fish, and I saw his eye floating in the water before. And then he had to do another lap around it, each time finding one of the 5 pentagram seals, and eventually this opened a doorway that he was able to go through and reach the next part of the labyrinth. They also just really take a minute to appreciate here how utterly, insanely difficult this would be for anyone besides Hajime. Seriously, this world does not have the concept of submarines. In order for someone to actually get down here to the bottom of the ocean and, just survive this long, they would need a ridiculous amount of magical power or a ridiculous number of mages at their disposal. That's interesting. Again, in the light novel, after they landed the very, very hard landing, Kaori was pretty badly beaten up because her stats are just so much lower than anyone else's. She is really weak in this party. I mean, not weak overall. By this world's standards, she is incredibly powerful, but by Hajime's standards, by the standards of his party, she is pathetically weak. Okay, again, this changed a little bit. In the light novel, Kaori did not notice the attack coming at all, and was so shocked by it that she literally fell backwards, and Hajime had to catch her. Though here, just Hajime saying, let you handle it, is basically him telling Kaori, you aren't good enough, you aren't strong enough, you aren't powerful enough to handle creating a barrier to protect us from an attack of this magnitude, of this much strength. I mean, obviously that's not what Hajime meant, but that is clearly how she heard it. She is upset. She feels like she can't measure up to the rest of them. And, she can't. Yeah, Yui was not having a great time right there, because the water was so high on her because she was so short, that made walking just really, really difficult. So Hajime thought up a solution. Oh, again, a little bit different. In the light novel, he literally had her, wrapping her legs around his head instead. Which would be way, way more embarrassing than him just carrying her on one arm. Oh, God. We still get the cringe, though. We still get the cringe, as Yui's just so embarrassed to be carried like that. I love it. I love it. Wow. Oh, God, Tio is brutal. Tio is so, so brutal. Yeah, when it comes to Kaori, Yui will not take any slack. She will crush her into the freaking dust. As you might imagine, Yui doesn't have the same connection with Kaori as she does with Shea or even really Tio. Yeah, just a lot of still images this episode so far, which, like I said, they might be saving the budget for what comes next. I could definitely see that. Yeah, by Kaori standards, these monsters have been incredibly strong, but Kaori has never really even been in a labyrinth before. I mean, she's been in the Grand Orcus Labyrinth, but she's only in the first half of the true labyrinth, starts after floor 100. So to her, these monsters are quite strong, while the Hajime and the rest of them, they are overwhelmingly weak. And that's because the true threat lies ahead. Shea, this will not go well for you. I'm saying that now. Wow, that was pathetic. That was really, really pathetic. And end up pausing on a bad scene. Sorry about that. That's also. Oh, by the way, that's also incredibly acidic, so I would not let that touch you if I was you. Just a word of warning. And also in the light novel, it ends up burning her clothes quite a bit. Also, again, I paused in a very, very interesting scene right here, didn't I? I mean, you do have to, again, I keep pausing, but you have to appreciate Tio's, incredible control, was able to basically, use her dragon fire to burn off the slime while only leaving, Shea very mildly burned. And, okay, I gotta appreciate that. I gotta appreciate Shea, just so focused on Hajime, even as they're fighting for their goddamn lives. Oh, that's a nice detail right there. That's a nice detail right there. I mean, she's not wrong. Those two certainly have the situation under control, as far as she can tell. Wow, that is pathetic, honestly. That's really, really pathetic. And I just gotta love Kaori, basically blocking Shea from getting any Hajime action. Yeah, that is, a concern. A very, very big concern. This thing can literally eat through clothing, skin, and magic. There's not a whole lot they can do to actually stop it. God, it's so unsettling and creepy. I freaking love it. And massive. It is very, very massive. Okay, I'm not really sure what to make of this transformation. I mean, I don't recall seeing this in the light novel, and it is off-putting. Really, really off-putting. Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I mean, the anime hasn't really covered this much, but every monster in this world has a mana crystal, a little glowing gem somewhere in their body. And if you crush that, you kill the monster. Now, this thing is, transparent somewhat, so you should be able to see the crystal somewhere on it, and yet, even with Hajime's demon eye, he can't find it. This thing does not have a mana crystal, which means, arguably by the definition of this world, it is technically not a monster. Alright, here we go. Hajime's newest and greatest weapon. The flamethrower. And again, Kaori just really, really feels left out here because this is a battle on a scale she's never really even encountered before. Well, that was pretty easy to escape from, I'd say. Definitely a bit harder in the light novel. Actually, at this point in light novel, Hajime had already given everyone oxygen masks, so they had a good 30 minutes of breathing air before they, passed out. And here again, we see Kaori just really, really suffering because she is so much weaker than everyone else. And that nod from Yui right there, that was her basically telling Hajime, alright, I'll be fine, go save Kaori. I mean, I really would get a little irked if she died on you because you were too busy focused on Mei. And that was definitely the right choice to make. I mean, like I said before, Kaori is super weak, and Yui is functionally immortal. I mean, this hasn't been covered all that much in the anime, but Yui was born with a natural regeneration skill that is frankly terrifying. As long as she still has mana, she can recover from basically any wound, even if she's chopped up into little pieces. Yeah, Yui is a truly, truly terrifying vampire. Aw, the way he's holding her is really cute. Hajime really does have a nice side to him, sometimes. Because you're weak, Kaori. So very, very weak. Because Yui is an immortal vampire, obviously. Okay, that was cute. That was also really cute. I feel like that should be, Hajime's catchphrase. Stop wasting time being depressed and get moving. I mean, that's what he did, after he fell into the abyss and was left alone all by himself for days on end, surrounded by terrifying monsters that could tear him to pieces, he decided to stop being depressed and got up and, found himself some food to eat. Even though it was monster meat that tore his body to shreds, but that didn't stop him either. He got up again and went out hunting again and just kept doing that again and again until he finally escaped. Huzzah! That's interesting. Light novel said Hajime used machete. Here he's just wrapping his gun in mana and swinging that around. I mean, that seems so very, very much more Hajime style, so I like that. Oh, that's interesting. Again, something cut out. This is the most cut episode we've seen so far. Basically, in the light novel, Hajime stopped and, embraced Kaori, put a hand behind her head, and she's like, Hajime, we can't, not now! And then he pulled out a giant 10 or 20 leg spider that had been crawling in the back of her head. Yes, Kaori was almost killed by a spider. Not even a spider monster, just a regular old spider in this world. That just really did not help with her depression this episode. And now we've reached the ship graveyard, where everything's gonna take a very, very dark turn. I'm very excited for it, and terrified. Excitified. Okay, that's a weird thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the light novel it says that none of the ships actually have, holes for guns because guns, even cannons, aren't really a thing that exists in this world. Hajime basically invented it for the first time ever. And that does make sense. I mean, this is a world with magic, and if you can just learn spells, why would you bother spending time trying to invent long-range weaponry? Yeah, again, like I said before, I'm fairly certain this world does not have cannons. I know that might seem like a small detail, but it says a lot about the world building. This is a world that has magic. Why would they have cannons if they have magic, which is way more powerful than most cannons would be? And again, with the still images here, this really does feel like the cheapest episode so far, and the one that has the most content cut out of it. Okay, so this is what I was expecting, the magic shots being fired back and forth. For example, that ship, it's not just, gray, it was literally petrified, turned to stone by a magical spell. That's what I'm expecting in a naval battle in a world full of magic. Fun fact, in the light novel, Hajime figured there's no way her holy shield would work when his gun didn't, but he decided that it was best just to let her try, because if he actually, pushed her out of the way instead, she would just get even more depressed. Thankfully, Hajime is a very, very fast learner, and he realized the only way to stop the illusions is with mana, so he started firing literal bullets made entirely out of mana at everything he wants to destroy. And that works for him! Yay! And you just gotta love Kaori, who is attempting to heal an illusion, heal a mirage! Oh, that is so her. That is so, so her. And she killed him. She killed him. The murderer Kaori. Oh, that is definitely not going to help with her, mental health right now. Yeah, like I said, her mental health is really, really not good right now. Yeah, that's the whole point of all this. For our God! For our God! This is basically a war between two nations who worship different gods. And it's probably worth pointing out here, there's only really one god in this world. It's Ihit, or whatever you want to call him. Honestly, the name doesn't actually matter. That one god is the one that plays everyone against one another, causes chaos, destruction, anarchy, because he finds it amusing. He enjoys watching it. Yeah, that is not what she meant at all. She meant, oh, maybe we can find some way to peacefully end this. While Hajime heard, let's kill everybody. That'll end the war. I mean, there's no one left to fight, and that means the war is technically over. Huzzah! Okay, and again, they just keep cutting stuff out. This actually was one of Kaori's best moments to shine here, because she managed to basically beat the illusion by casting Aether Flow, one of the most powerful healing spells, actually no, the most powerful healing spell known to this world. A spell that usually takes multiple healers casting for a dozen or more minutes to activate, and yet Kaori did it by herself in less than 2 minutes, and when she did, she activated a healing spell that covered a full kilometer of area. Seriously, that was some impressive healing magic, and I was really hoping we'd see that this episode. Also, Kaori was much more shaken up by the time, they escaped the first illusion. She was literally throwing up on the ground because of just how horrible the war was. I mean, they definitely censor things here. I mean, it was described, people having their guts torn out, their limbs hacked off, ripping out their own hearts and lifting up to the air as an offering to the gods. Just brutal, brutal stuff. And so basically the concept or theme of this labyrinth is religious fanaticism, being forced to witness all the awful, terrible things that were committed by followers of Ihit, or really any god. They're all the same god, more or less. And, for Hajime and Kaori, this isn't all that ground shaking, all that earth shattering, because, they aren't actually believers in Ihit. But almost every human in this world is, and showing them this would have completely and utterly blown their minds and just utterly destroyed them. I mean, seriously, imagine you're, a diehard Christian with a very poor understanding of world history, and somebody teleports you back in time to witness the Crusades. That would just leave you so utterly and completely broken mentally. Yeah, here we go. Here is the vomiting. I'm glad they didn't skip this. I guess it couldn't technically be considered vomiting because she hasn't eaten in quite a while, so she really just retches for a little bit. And Hajime was so much nicer to her in the light novel. He even gave her an apple juice pack. Though I have so very, very many questions on how exactly he got one of those. Seriously, an apple juice pack. I mean, I could kind of see them having apple juice in this world, but did Hajime actually have to make the packaging and wrapper for it himself? I'm not sure. I have so many questions about that one line. I have so very, very many questions about that. Actually did go insane several times over, and then he went insane again, they went insane, they went insane again, they went insane. Hajime spent a very long time in that little hole he dug for himself at the bottom of the abyss. This is actually a really important point here. I mean, after Hajime fell, Kaori put herself entirely and completely into training, into becoming as strong and powerful as she could, so that day would come when she would find Hajime, when she would rescue him, even though she knew the chance of him being alive was basically zero. And yet she still pushed herself so hard to be able to accomplish that goal, and then when she found out that Hajime actually was alive, she's now realizing there's absolutely nothing she can do to protect him at all. Yeah, that might seem like a really out of left field question, but let's not forget, when Shea first joined the party, she was in love with Hajime. She's still in love with Hajime, and yet he rejected her time and time again. He beat her down, he treated her awfully again and again and again, and yet she still kept popping back up. She still, never wavered in her resolve to make Hajime hers someday. She never let herself wallow in self-pity and doubt. And yet Kaori, who says her feelings for Hajime are greater than anyone's, is allowing herself to wallow in self-pity and self-doubt, and is focused on how weak she is rather than just focused on being with Hajime, focused on just enjoying her time with him. Yes, you are. You are definitely surrendering. You are wallowing in your self-pity and self-doubt, and it is getting old, girl. It is seriously, seriously getting old. I mean, maybe bringing this up while you're in the middle of the labyrinth wasn't the best choice to make, but Hajime needed to, address it sooner or later. Yeah, I mean, that might sound cruel, but it really, really isn't. Hajime allowed, Kaori to come with them because he figured, what, Shea was fine, Shea was happy, just being around me, having fun, laughing and joking around with Yui. Even when we were mean to her, even when we, pushed her down, she still managed to always look happy. And Kaori, maybe she's the same. Maybe she'll be the same way. Maybe if we bring her along with us, she'll be happy too, but she's not. She has been completely and utterly miserable ever since they got into this labyrinth, always feeling inferior, always comparing herself to Yui, and that just, leads to a very, very sad girl, and that's not what Hajime wants. He wants her to be happy. I mean, not enough for him to actually make her his lover, but still, he wants her to be relatively happy. Alright, and I guess that's where we're ending this part of the story, and we'll pick that up next episode. Now on to the kingdom. That's a red flag. That is such a red flag. You announcing, I have something very important to say to everyone here. Seriously, girl, have you never seen an anime before? Oh boy, this is bad. This is bad. I went to Catholic school for 4 years. I know whenever you come to a nun standing in a hallway, it never ends well. And that voice is just so terrifying and echoey and just creepy. Yep, she down. Hajime, gotta get out of this labyrinth quickly. Your teacher needs you. Your 7th harem member needs you. Oh, wow. I feel like you had other options other than punching her in the stomach. Who exactly are you gonna let know? I mean, Aiko isn't particularly strong, but her stats are better than most of your classmates. Wait a minute, she's not a student. Okay, her stats are better than most of her students, is what I meant to say there. I mean, Kalki is fairly strong, he might be able to do something, but he's also an idiot, so not the best person to come across. I'm gonna go for Shizuku. Go find Shizuku. She's fairly strong, not stupid, and will probably have a good idea of what you should do in this situation. Also, in this part of the light novel, it didn't actually say who saw this happening, and I assumed it was Endo for quite a while after this, and just ended up leaving me very, very confused. Oh, episode 6, someone important. Oh, I know exactly what that line's referring to, and I'm so excited to see it. Okay, so yeah, this episode cut out way more than I was expecting, and yet still did not go as far as I thought it would, which... interesting. Definitely interesting. Alright, so, like I said before, they cut out a whole bunch of material here and there. I mean, I was kind of expecting that. This labyrinth isn't critically important. It's mostly just for Kaori's own self-growth and all that. But still, I mean, they barely even touch on the fact that, this whole labyrinth is showing religious fanaticism, showing how insane and crazy the people got because their god told them to do X, because their god said, oh, beastmen are evil, demons are evil, people with dark brown hair are evil, blah, blah, blah. But hopefully we see more of that next episode. I mean, there's some interesting foreshadowing here, especially the nun. I mean, she did not appear at this point in the light novel, but showing her here in the anime leads to some very interesting foreshadowing for anime only, so I'm very curious to see what they think of her. Oh, and also next episode, we're gonna get the return of one of the best characters in this entire series. Oh, I can't wait for that. I cannot freaking wait for that. But please let me know down below. If you read the light novel, what did you think of what was cut out? If you haven't, what do you think about the nun? Who do you think she is? What's her deal? Why did she want Aiko-sensei? And what's gonna, happen the rest of the Labyrinth? Is Hajime gonna kick Kaori out of the party? Should he kick her out of the party? I mean, like I said, she is not having a good time. She is absolutely and completely miserable and just keeps comparing herself to Yui, keeps comparing herself to the rest of the party and feeling inferior because of it. So she really doesn't belong right now. I mean, if she manages to, get a second win, then maybe, but right now, the kindest thing Hajime could do would be to kick her out for the sake of her own safety and her own happiness. But link else down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next video. And until then, peace.